is my Gracie Combatives class outline starting. The first 10 minutes of class is a review period. The instructor is going to say, if this is your first class, please join me in the corner. There he'll conduct the 10-minute intro. Everyone else, please review your techniques, starting with the most recent ones you've learned. At this time, he's also going to direct the students to help each other and give each other any necessary feedback. While the head instructor is conducting the 10-minute intro, it's the assistant instructor's job to go around and help the least experienced students first, ask them to practice a technique on you, make sure they know the names of the techniques that they've been learning, and give them any other helpful hints to make the most out of their review period. Praise often. If you're not praising them, then you shouldn't be there. Avoid socializing with other instructors. Standing technique, 10 minutes. First thing you're going to do is collect the Gracie Combatives cards. This will give you a chance to learn 3 names of new students. Second, you're going to teach the standing technique using the slice presentation formula. Third thing you're going to do is ask the class that if you have had class number 17, please step off the wall, turn around, and find somebody that hasn't done the class before. This will accomplish 2 things. It will make sure that you have a more advanced student with a less advanced student, and it'll also help with not having a disastrous partnership. For instance, you don't want a 65-year-old female with a 325-pound man. Next section, ground techniques, which is 35 minutes. First thing you're going to do is review your manual before every slice, no exceptions. Second thing, know the clock. Depending on the complexity and quantity of the slices you're going to be teaching that day, this will help you determine how long to drill for and how long each slice should be taught for. Third thing is going to be teaching time. Every slice presentation is different, and you want to complete this in a time-efficient manner and teach it to your best ability. It should be perfect. You should use the students' questions to help make this a flawless presentation. Drill time. A preparation drill can be done in anywhere between 1 to 3 minutes, and a full slice can be drilled for up to 8 to 10 minutes. Use your best judgment. Reflex development, 2 minutes. If time allows, you can have your students blend some of the slices that they've learned in that day's class and challenge them a little bit. Have them up the intensity by 10%. Okay? If the students, for instance, you can say something like, if your partner has a technique perfect, higher the intensity by 10%. If not, lower the intensity by 10%. The next little tidbit is going to be called the Mindset Minute. This is 60 seconds. Okay. What we're talking about in the Mindset Minute is any essential details, indicators, mindset, okay, proper mindset, and any fight philosophies that pertains to the technique of the day. This is so they can have something to ponder on their drive home. The next section is going to be stripe promotion. Okay, this should be 3 minutes long. While the students are drilling the last technique of the day, go ahead, cut the pieces of tape, put them on your lapel, read their names off the Gracie Combatives cards, and award them their stripes and ask the class to give them a round of applause. The last thing you're going to do is the class closure. This is going to be 1 minute. If any of your students brought a friend, thank them. Also tell the first time student, if this is your first class, come see me and we'll get you started with a 10-day free trial. For all their other regular students, thank them for coming and give them a little forecast of what's coming the next day. Tomorrow we're going to be teaching class number 2, the Kimura arm lock. The last thing you're going to do, if it's your last class of the day, is you're going to clean up and do a team sweep. If anybody is new and they don't know how to do it, make sure that they learn from somebody so they're not lost and confused. This is the Gracie Combatives group outline. So the next thing we're going to talk about is error correction strategies. First thing that we want to do is praise often. We don't want to be saying a lot of negative things and always correcting our students. More specifically, when we praise our students, we would like to give them specific praise like nice hip pressure, great job wrapping the head. I think this means more to the student than if you were to just give them a simple compliment, because at least they know you're watching specifically what they're doing. Preserve the ratio. So we always want to make sure the ratio stays 3-to-1. So always saying 3 good things for every 1 correction that you give them. Obviously, just kind of like praising, we always want to make sure we're praising them a lot and not over-correcting them. This can lead to students quitting and just overall frustration. So now we're going to talk about the first error correction strategy, which is called the perfect adjustment. What you're going to do is physically put the student's arm, leg, or whatever needs to be corrected in the right spot and say perfect. You're not verbally telling anything. You're not verbally telling them anything. You're just moving their body part into the right place. The next one we're going to talk about is called the perfect bad guy. For example, if you have 2 students working together and you see that they're struggling, ask them to tell them, let me get in here for a second. It's then your job to correct the student that is struggling by physical correction. You are the perfect bad guy. They can't do the move wrong when you are helping them. And so no matter what, you're going to make sure that the move works. Okay, because you are the perfect bad guy. So still physically correcting them. The third thing we're going to talk about is the final correction. What that has to do with is if physically you're not able to correct them, you're going to try a verbal correction. So what you're going to do is you're going to say something positive about what they did, like you controlled the head perfectly, followed by the correction, followed by another praise. Okay? So it's the sandwich effect when you're correcting them. If all of these things don't work, you can tell them, listen, this is why we go through the combatives course every class 4 times. So don't get frustrated. If it doesn't make sense the first class, it'll definitely make sense the second, third, and fourth time you go through it. I myself struggled with these techniques. Or you can even say, this is one of the harder techniques in the combatives course, so don't get frustrated. The last thing we're going to talk about is narration praise. What you're doing in this situation is you are calling out the move a second ahead of them. This accomplishes 3 things. 1, they know you're watching them. 2, they can't do the move wrong because you're telling them ahead of time what to do. And 3, they can hear the sound of your voice and that keeps them motivated. Correction danger. We don't want to ever overcorrect our students. I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory. As the instructor, we feel like we're very knowledgeable and we always want to correct our students all the time, but that can be very dangerous because they can get frustrated. You know, worst case scenario, they quit. So we really have to make sure that we follow all of the error correction strategies I just mentioned. And these bits of information should make sure, or is good, helpful advice, so you never ever overcorrect your student. Now we're going to talk about the perfect partnership. So what is that? The perfect partnership is, there's 3 keys to this. You're going to be pairing up a less advanced student with a more advanced student. And one, this gives the opportunity for the less advanced student to have a private class within a group class setting. Okay. Number 2, it really helps the more advanced student deepen their understanding of the techniques, because now they have to teach it to somebody else. And 3, this puts the more advanced student in a more assistant instructor role and a more honorable type of position for them. So those are all 3 different ways the perfect partnership works. The next thing that we're going to talk about, and anything that I found helpful that I could add on, is you really want to avoid deflation danger. If you see that there are a pair of students working together and the more advanced student is doing everything they can to help the less advanced student, you never want to put the more advanced student down, even if they're telling them to do the wrong thing. Okay, we never want to embarrass anybody, especially when they're just trying to help. Okay, so never ever embarrass your students in front of anybody. The second thing we're going to talk about is be everywhere. Okay, so you're praising somebody right next to you, but you know, your eyes are scanning the room and you're maybe taking somebody through a narration praise that's maybe on the opposite side of your academy. Okay, so be everywhere. Safety is very important. You always want to make sure that your students are safe. You have plenty of room to do the techniques. For instance, pulling guard. That's a technique that you're going to need to make sure that there's plenty of space so nobody's bonking heads. Be professional. Don't curse. Okay, always think about what you're going to do before you do it. Okay, you can still be friendly and be likable and keep it professional. Okay, you're a role model to students and kids, especially if you're teaching those classes. Another thing we're going to talk about is be likable. Say please, say thank you, you know, treat your students the way you want to be treated yourself. Okay, I don't think that's hard to do. Always be in a positive mood. You know, if you don't want to be there, they're not going to want to be there. So be likable. Use their names. That is very important. Always address somebody by their name. Nobody likes to be called hey you. Okay, so use their names is very important. Let's see here, and I think, oh wait, I remember one. Tame the tough guys. Let's say you have a pair of students working together and you can see one of the students isn't being very cooperative. Okay, just remind them that you know they need to be cooperative. Ask them in a nice way. If you've tried everything, you've been polite, then worst case scenario, you may have to ask them to leave the class. But just do everything you can to explain to them why it's important to be a good bad guy and be cooperative with the rest of the students. And I think that is all that I can think of. Kind of extra things that I liked. Oh, teach to the lowest common denominator. Use not big terms, not jujitsu terms. And if you do use jujitsu terms, explain what they mean, but use basic language when teaching so everybody understands. Okay, I think that's really it. Critical assistance. Thought of one more. When you're on stage teaching and you're the assistant instructor, make sure you're paying attention to the head instructor, giving them respect, showing them good body language. You're not staring off into space. You're not twiddling your thumbs. You're giving them respect and watching them and just being a good assistant. And I'm sure that's it. Thank you.